UFC 318 wrapped up last night. Let's talk about the whole card. We're going to start with the main event, Holloway versus Poirier 3. I thought this was a pretty good fight. I thought it was a really fun fight. In the first round, Max drops Dustin. He set up that drop with body shots, by the way, right before that. It was hurting him to the body. And we're going to talk about those body shots. It's pretty much the story of the fight, really, for Max, for this fight, for his success. Max set up that drop with first like a fake lead right hand, and then he threw a straight left immediately after to follow it. And yeah, Max dominated the first round. In the second round, Dustin was much more aggressive. Was way more on the front foot going forward. Max, even though this is the one round I think you could give Dustin Poirier, I think Max still had a lot of success. He kept shooting, hitting to the body. He almost finished him again, in fact, in the second, I think around the beginning in the middle of the second round. Even those spinning back kicks were landing for Max, in the first and second round. The same spinning back kick that broke Justin Gaethje's nose, by the way. Now, in the very end of round two, Dustin Poirier hurts Max right at the end with some big meaty hooks, and what some people don't bring up, or I don't see many people bring it up, is like Dustin threw an uppercut just after he dropped Max. He threw an uppercut that almost decapitated Max Holloway. It was a fucking crazy, but he didn't get the finish. And we go into round three, and Max is having some really good blitz in that round. It's becoming increasingly harder for Poirier. And I think round two really was the highlight for Poirier, because round three is the beginning of the end, in my opinion, for him. But in round three, Poirier did bust open Max's nose pretty bad. He was leaking. In fact, at the end of the fight, it was clear that there was more visible damage on Max's face. But I think if you watched the fight, it was obvious who took more damage and got hit more. So, Dustin Poirier, it seemed like in round three especially, this was throughout the whole fight, but in round three in particular, it seemed like he couldn't really close the distance like he could in the second fight in the first two fights, where he got up really close to Max and was fucking him up with big meaty hooks, slipping in uppercuts and all that. He couldn't get those combinations off this time because Max is just, his footwork is better. His defensive head movement is better. He is all around a better fighter since that fight. His jab is better. I mean, Max Holloway's lead left hand is fucking phenomenal. In the fourth round, Max is continuing to outland Dustin Poirier. Dustin's starting to miss more, and Max's shots are really going to the body even more now. Now, I said this before, but if you notice at the end of the fight, a lot of the damage is worn on Max's face. However, if you compare, the shots, a lot of the damage that Max does is to the body of Dustin Poirier, hitting him in the torso, hitting him in the guts. Now, round five, Max Holloway's popping him to the body and face. He's doing good with the lead left hand. Kicks to the body, too. He's been doing that all night, but he was really doing that in the fifth round. And you just see, Dustin Poirier's he's accepting I always think it's a weird idea to, announce the retirement fight and, be prepared and know when your retirement fight is for MMA in this. Because it's once you announce that you're going to retire and this is your last fight, aren't you kind of, mentally halfway kind of just not there as much really with that grit and tenacity, in my opinion. It's very dangerous to know that this is your retirement fight and do it, in my opinion. In MMA, in my opinion. I think it's very dangerous to do that. Anyway, Dustin Poirier in the fifth and final round, he gets backed up, he gets hurt. You really see the years, he looks good, but he's definitely, not the same Dustin. All the years of, fucking gumbo, fried snapper, sweet tea, pecan pie, seafood boils, it's all catching up to Dustin around this time in the fight. And that's when the end of the fight happened, the end of the fifth round. So, as expected, when the fight reached the fifth round, the last 10 seconds, Max pointed to the center as expected. And, they traded, and as soon as they started trading, Max was getting the better of it. He made Dustin, curl up, not curl up, but, cover up and start going for a clinch or almost a takedown. It was bad luck. It was a bad look, and then they pan over to Dustin's family. It was bad. It was bad. Um, as I said, most of the damage visibility, was on the face of Max Holloway. Although Max did more damage all around. Dustin had a little cut above his eyebrow or something at the end of the fight, but it was the shots to the body. Like I've been saying, sounding like a broken record. It was those constant liver shots and those leg kicks, even those spinning back heel kicks to the body. They were just uncomfortable and fucking with Dustin all day. Now, after the fight, in the post-fight interview, the post-fight speeches, interviews, whatever the fuck you want to call them, Max was very humble. He kept it quick, called out the champion, a rematch. I don't know about that, but we're not going to talk about that right now. Anyway, Dustin Poirier, he's a quote machine. So he's just, I'm pretty sure, I swear, he said something like, it's a beautiful story because I know the author. He said it's like bedtime MMA's bingo list for UFC 318. I'm sure he said that there was going to be some corny quotes or something. He might have actually said that exact same quote. I know this is a beautiful story because I'm the author or something like that. I don't know what the fuck he said. What was really annoying and stupid was the fact that Max Holloway had to take the mic and rile up the Louisiana, New Orleans crowd to cheer for Dustin Poirier. Now, it's like, win or lose, you have to be ready to cheer for your hometown boy. Especially if it's his retirement fight. Win or lose, why aren't you being louder? The fact that the opponent, Max Holloway, had to take the microphone and say something is really depressing. Anyway, now we got as I was going to say, we had Lil Wayne put the BMF belt on Max Holloway. Yeah, it's cool. Lil Wayne is cool and all that. He should have performed, to be honest. But, like, the BMF belt is just so stupid. Like, what is, like, the point? It's all just an excuse to build really crappy cards around a corny Mickey Mouse title, in my opinion. Anyway, I am happy for Max, though, because he breaks the trilogy curse. Like, he would have, if he had lost this, he would have been the first fighter to lose lose every fight of 2 trilogies. I'm so glad that didn't happen. I'm so glad that Max won it. I think that would have been sadder than Dustin losing his last fight. Because Dustin, he's fucking, the whole thing is war. It's not to win, be, champ order. It's war. To put on entertaining fights and all that. So for him to lose his last fight, it's not a big deal. It's not a stain on his legacy in any way. All right, he has a great legacy, great resume. Anyway, yeah, I think the UFC, because, the fact that Max had to get the Louisiana crowd to cheer for Dustin fucking Poirier in his retirement fight to really scream. I think that the UFC should go to, like, France, Germany, China more often. They should actually get the UFC to Poland and Spain and not to countries like Qatar, Azerbaijan, and Saudi Arabia, and keep going back to United Arab Emirates because, come on, just because they have the most amount of money to pay doesn't mean they're going to put on the best events and stuff. We could have much cooler events in Poland and Spain. Sorry about that. Let me just pick this up. Anyway, as the fight continued, UFC, this fight should have just been Justin versus Dustin 3, in my opinion. The Charles rematch is what Max Holloway hinted at as well. If you noticed, I might be the only one who noticed, but as soon as Paddy Pimblett was brought up, when Max Holloway went to the round table with Chael Sonnen and whoever the fuck else was there, I think Dominic Cruz, one of the first names they said was Paddy Pimblett, and Max Holloway was immediately, shut off. He's like, no, I'm not, don't really care for that. And he started to say Charles Oliveira, which, by the way, I think a rematch with Charles Oliveira makes way more sense than Max Holloway fighting Ilia Topuria already, at 155. I get it. He's a different fighter at 155. Topuria is still going to beat him, in my opinion. And also, the first fight, because it ended in a KO, I think that Max Holloway should get another win at lightweight before he gets that rematch. Moving on to the co-main event, we have Paulo Costa versus Roman Kopylov. Now, oh my God, frustration with Roman Kopylov is, I don't know how to quite explain it. So Kopylov, what were you doing? Like, was it just like really the bright lights, the New Orleans crowd really got you, intimidated you? You know, the moment. Cause he threw nothing. Like, dude had almost no output. It's like this was a completely different human than any Roman Kopylov fight we had seen prior to this. Anyway, yeah, Paulo Costa's back in the win column since Luke Rockhold. His first win since Luke Rockhold. Congratulations. Costa, you know, even though Costa won this fight, he had really slow output. This was not an entertaining win in any way. I've seen a lot of people saying vintage Costa, vintage Costa. No, this is not the same Paulo Costa who walked down Yoel Romero and stuff. And to be honest, vintage Costa, aside from Yoel Romero, which was a good fight, you know, I know he was old, but his other opponents like Johnny Hendricks, you know, Uriah Hall, those were dudes who were already kind of past it at that point. Like, way past it for Johnny Hendricks, in fact. He was like literally dehydrated Johnny Hendricks because they took all the steroids out of him. He was just a Pillsbury Doughboy in that fight practically. Yeah, Paulo Costa back in the win column. I don't think this is the vintage Costa, as people are saying. I don't know what happened to Roman Kopylov. I really don't know. I don't even know who Roman Kopylov's next opponent should be. I'm going to have to look at the rankings and see what to do with this guy. Really, I'm just baffled at just how bad Roman Kopylov looked last night. I blame Lucas Tracy. I don't know what else to say. I blame Lucas Tracy for this. Moving on. Kevin Holland versus D-Rod, Daniel Rodriguez. Now, this was a fun fight, a great barn burner, not the best skill, and I think at this point, if you are putting money on Kevin Holland to win a fight, you're retarded. You're just simply retarded. Roman I was going to say Roman Kopylov. Daniel Rodriguez, he was there to be beaten, dude. I mean, like, how he did not finish at the end of the... We'll go over the whole fight, but round one, you know, close fight, close striking, but even though Kevin Holland outstruck him, the clear, more significant strikes were coming from D-Rod, Daniel Rodriguez. And in round two, much closer as we see. But how Daniel Rodriguez didn't finish this fight in round two is crazy, because he dropped him twice in this round, I believe. And also a takedown for Kevin Holland, but dropped him twice, Daniel Rodriguez. And this fight had quite a few, you know, what the fuck. This whole card, you know, was a bit weird. But anyway, yeah. Kevin Holland then had the opportunity to finish the fight in round three, couldn't do it. Never put money on Kevin Holland, by the way. I've never done that. I'm so happy to never say that. And I would never even predict Kevin Holland to win a fight, because he just simply doesn't care about his career. How can you put money on a fighter who doesn't even care about himself? I'm sorry. You're an idiot for putting money on him. You're an idiot. Should have finished this. And yeah, so I think Daniel Rodriguez should have finished this fight in round three. When he had the top position, he could have finished it. I mean, he was practically dead by then. It's more so Kevin Holland should have finished this fight in round three. And when Daniel Rodriguez had top position near the end of that round, you know, that was a great opportunity. But he was pretty much gassed and hurt too bad by then. But yeah, listen, I'm just happy. A dude from Los Angeles, the city I'm from, I'm so happy, you know, he's ranked. He beat a ranked opponent. We have a ranked guy from LA in the welterweight division. Very cool, very cool. Anyway, this was definitely fight of the night, by the way. Great, fun fight. Not a lot of skill, but, you know, just a fun barn burner. That's what matters. We don't need skill sometimes. Dan Ige versus Patricio Pitbull. I am so mad at Dan Ige. Such a lack of urgency from Dan Ige throughout the whole fight. Even when you're at the end of the third round, you're losing. You know you need to get the finish. No urgency in the third round, or even near the end of the second round. Just awful. Just awful. Pitbull also had very low output, and this fight was very similar to that of Paulo Costa versus Roman Kopylov. The guy who should have won it had such low output. It was embarrassing, almost a completely different person. And, you know, man, Dan Ige, you were coming off so much momentum. Your last fight, you saved this planet from an alien invasion. You had so much momentum going into this fight, dude. I'm really annoyed. And Pitbull, you know, he got awarded right after losing to Yair Rodriguez, getting a top-ranked opponent in his UFC debut. He gets awarded with another ranked opponent, and now he gets to stay. Now he gets to be ranked and stay in the top. This boring, washed old Bellator dude. Fucking Bellator grandpa. I do not want him in the UFC. Alright, just, now that he's here, now that he's top ranked, just put him in the cage with fucking Gene Silva or Diego or Mosavar. Let him get knocked out, choked out. I don't care. Give him the loser of Pico versus Mosavar. I don't care. Patricio is not that entertaining, dude. Michael Johnson versus Zell Huber. Now, I almost feel dumb for not putting money on this fight. I heard that if you put $10 on Michael Johnson in this fight, you could have won $60. Man, that was a missed opportunity. This is a good win for Michael Johnson. Zell Huber didn't show very much improvement since his last fight, kind of throwing the same combinations, not mixing it up as much, you know, just kind of the same kinds of leg kicks, the jabs, the same strikes. And, bro, Michael Johnson, pushing 40 years old, but the speed is still there, and it's crazy his speed, man, for almost 40 years old. Unnatural. Really crazy. And good win for Michael Johnson. I don't care if he's on steroids. It's glad to see him back in the UFC. All right. Now we got the prelims. Let's move on. Kyler Phillips versus Vinicius Oliveira. Vinicius Oliveira is very chaotic. I mean, wow. Keeping his hands low, throwing shots from very weird angles. He's like a Brazilian Yuri Prohaska, really. I think everyone's been saying that now. But he really is like Brazilian bantamweight Yuri. Anyway, another big win for Oliveira. I believe this is his second fight in the UFC. Another good win. Not too much to say about that fight. Really fun. All right, sorry for scrolling up again. Next fight, Marvin Vtori versus Brendan Allen. A fight that should have been on the main card. Now, I was rooting for Marvin, you know, coming off family tragedy. You know, everyone knows the tragedy is coming from. There were some good moments from both of these fighters, but Brendan Allen was just more accurate. He did more. You know, he landed more significant strikes. Better control time with his takedowns. Anyway, yeah, Brendan Allen wins. Who cares? You know, he has no personality. No one gives a fuck. By the way, you know, there was some specific choice of words. I want to make it clear. Both of these guys have a very tragic backstory with their brother, because I know Brendan Allen said after the fight, I am not losing in front of my fucking brother, you know, and all that stuff. I believe Brendan Allen's brother is paralyzed through a horrible accident, horrible tragedy. But still, interesting choice of words, in my opinion. After beating Marvin Vtori and stuff, interesting choice of words. I'm not losing in front of my brother, in front of, you know, interesting stuff. Now, yeah, not too much to say about that. Brendan Allen wins. You know, who cares? Whatever. No personality. Not the funnest fight style. Moving on. Prado versus Nikolai Vetrovnikov. I'm so sorry. Veretonikov. That's the best I can say. Nikolai Veretonikov. I'm so sorry to all the Russians watching this. I am so sorry for saying it like that. Anyway, Prado was going for a lot of meaningless takedowns in this fight and didn't even do anything with them. Like, he didn't do a lot of ground and pound. Didn't go for submission attempts. Just a lot of meaningless takedowns. And Nikolai simply did what he had to do to get the split decision win. You know, outlanding him in the first round. Not the second, and not the third, but definitely getting the takedowns in there and meaningful takedowns and doing more with them. Not that he got submission attempts, but, yeah, whatever. Not the best fight. Moving on. Now, a good fight. A fight I was looking forward to, and it didn't disappoint. Atibe Gutierre. I believe that's how you say his name. He just ruthlessly walked this dude down. And he was very impressive against Robert Valentine, against Rob Zilla, I love that dude's nickname, by the way. So sorry he lost. But he's just tagging him with right hands. And most importantly, he's not doing this reckless, fucking newbie UFC debut shit where he's like swinging for the fences as soon as he hurts the guy or just, being sloppy, keeping his chin out. He was so composed when he hurt Rob Zilla. He kept it composed. He marched down and fucked him up. This is a fun prospect from Cameroon in the same division where DDP is the champion. And who knows, regardless if it's going to be Hamzat or DDP as the champion by the end of this year, we have a fun, future prospect, to take on the upper middleweights. I can't wait to see this guy move up the rankings. We'll have to look. Probably, I would assume Jared Candinir is now going to be used as a gatekeeper. He might be that middleweight, to get sacrificed. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Gutierre, man, what killer uppercuts, killer body shots. Fun prospect for this division. Can't wait to see his next fight. Moving on, Adam Fugit versus Islam Dulattov. Islam Dulattov. Fucking clean win for Islam Dulattov. Pretty dominant. Great technique against a guy who just swings wildly. Adam Fugit tends to swing very wildly. And another new fun prospect for welterweight. Welterweight, we have the fucking... God, I forgot his fucking name, but he beat Gilbert Burns in the fight night. You guys know who I'm talking about. He's from Ecuador. He beat Gilbert Burns. He's undefeated, I believe. God, I don't remember his name. Don't call me a fucking casual. I don't remember his name right now, but you know who I'm talking about. Anyway, he's just another fun prospect welterweight, Islam Dulattov. Apparently, I didn't know this, but apparently this guy's a model. So, interesting, mogging people in and outside the cage. Islam Dulattov gets into the win column. Can't wait to see this guy's next fight and to see where his career goes from here. Moving on, Jimmy Crute versus Patino. All right. So, not much to say about this fight. Jimmy Crute been going on kind of a slump these last couple fights. I believe this was his first fight in years or something, like 3-4 years. But anyway, Jimmy Crute gets a much-needed win to save his career, save his UFC career. A fun finish. Not much else to say about this fight. Moving on. Ryan Spann versus Lucas Bredsky. Ryan Spann gets it done. Lucas Bredsky, his last opponent was the Nigerian dude, Nujashwe. I picked that guy to beat him. I would have picked Ryan Spann to beat him in this fight if I made a prediction video or put money on this fucking fight. But yeah, it really is the summer of Superman. It really is. Ryan Spann gets it done. And he's finishing this fight with speed. That same crazy fucking speed he hit Dominic Reyes with. Crazy speed from Ryan Spann. Gets it done in round 1 with submission. Sorry, forgot that shit for a second. Bruno Ferreira versus Jackson McVey. So, tough date. Listen, you can't really give Jackson McVey that much shit for getting his cherry pop because Bruno Ferreira, he's on a good streak and he's like doing really good right now. And this is like his fucking this is his UFC debut taking on a tough opponent. So, not much to say about this fight either. Did what he was supposed to do. Do not cut Jackson McVey. Let's give him some more opportunities. I'm going to look at some unranked fighters. Give me a moment, all right? I'm going to give the kid a fight, all right? Give me a moment. Carly Judies versus Nicole Kalari. The only women's fight on this card. And it didn't disappoint. It was a good one. I was actually looking forward to this fight. One of the few times that happened, looking forward to a women's fight. But Carly Judies is just one of those women, who's making women's MMA very exciting. She got another good finish. She head kicked a bitch earlier this year, knocked her out. This is the kind of women's fighter you want to promote, getting the KOs. These are the kind of women's MMA fighters you want to give main or co-main spots to, all right? Not fucking Rose Namajunas, not Tracy Cortez, not fucking Mackenzie Dern, all right? The ones who get finishes like this, KOs. She's a savage. And yeah, that is UFC 318. Let me know what you guys thought about this card. Did you enjoy it? By the way, I am a smoker, so I'm sorry for, the, throughout this video, the clogging my throat and all this shit. I don't have a glass of water up here right now. I'm an idiot, for doing this video without a glass of water here. Anyway, I promise you my content and my voice will get better. Tell me what you guys thought about this card. Tell me what you thought about the main event, the co-main event, any other fights. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you know when I post next. I'm an idiot. Sorry about that.